Hey y'all, welcome to the Team LocoFit Roundtable, hosted by me, Laurin Conlon, owner of Team LocoFit. Each week, I am joined by one of our coaches to dive headfirst into the nutrition, training, mindset, and coaching strategies we use with our clients. If you loved the show, please subscribe, leave us a review, tell a friend, you know the drill. And for more information about coaching, the programs we offer, and additional content, visit teamlocofit.com.
All right, and we are back, and this time, what are you giggling?
I don't know. I thought it was something funny.
Okay, well, I'll introduce the topic, and then you can tell us if you want. So this time, we are going to be talking about traveling. And if you guys tuned in a few weeks back, we did an eating out podcast, and this is kind of an extension, so definitely listen to that one so that some of these tips make more sense. But traveling is its own distinct thing, and we definitely need to break this up into lifestyle versus a competition prep scenario. But do you want to share with the class what was so funny? or no? Or you just,
I forgot.
You didn't forget, but all good. I'll let it slide. I will let it slide, Jill.
HR is mad.
HR is fuming right now.
This is a positive work environment, Lauren. God.
I'm literally like Hades from
Oh my god, that's my favorite Disney movie.
I haven't seen it in so long.
Pain and
But
Panic
that's
are
so
my
neat. Just
Little devils.
he's like, I'm good. It me. Okay, so first of all, one thing with travel that I just need to just touch on to get this started is travel anxiety is normal. It doesn't matter if you are somebody who gives a fuck about their food or not. Like most people are going to have some kind of travel anxiety if they don't do it all the time, right? Like I've gotten to the place now where I could literally care less about really almost anything travel related because I did it so much for like a long time. But before that, I did not like to travel at all. Like it was very overwhelming, and there was just like, a lot going on. And if you are a very like routine person or like a creature of habit, or you're just a creature in the corner. We think we're so funny.
With the lost crowd.
Nobody else understands. So if you're a creature or a creature of habit, you might find this to be really stressful. And particularly if you're somebody who does, track what they're eating or care about that. That's a whole nother added layer because let's be honest, like you can be a real dirtbag when you travel. It's 7 a.m. people are fucking drinking.
No,
I drink beer.
literally. I think last time we podcasted, I was either about to go to New York or I came back from New York. One of the two. But I remember I was walking in the airport and like people were like, it's maybe 10 a.m. and people are like getting burgers at the restaurants and
it's
Newark. I'm like, there's no time. Time doesn't exist when you're in the airport.
It really doesn't. Like literally, you can order a Bloody Mary at 7 o'clock.
Yep.
You can get a burger. You can take a nap on the floor. Like it's just complete lawlessness at the airport.
You
but
get like a giant bag of candy.
Yeah. Oh, I was gonna say that. Nobody gives a fuck.
I'm in the air. Nothing matters.
Exactly. So like. There's just, it's very weird. And, so unless you are doing this all the time, it is going to be something that is, again, a little bit more anxiety provoking. So that is normal. And this is normal for, any situation that you don't do a lot of, you're going to have anxiety over. And then, that's what's called exposure therapy. Then you do it more and then you don't care anymore. And then it's really no big deal. But so I just wanted to open up with that because I do know a lot of people who kind of will preface that in their updates. Like, oh my God, I have this thing going on. And I know I shouldn't be like this, but I'm like, well, you haven't really traveled. You don't really travel a lot, so it's really normal to feel this way.
It's out of your routine. You're switching things around. You have to make it work, so it's normal for that to be a little bit, anxiety-inducing.
Yeah, but we did want to kind of differentiate between, particularly the diet realm, if you are just in a lifestyle or a non-competition phase at all, versus if you are doing some kind of a competition prep. Even if that doesn't mean necessarily physique, it could mean that you are competing in something and you need to stay on top of your diet. These are two totally different things because obviously the competition prep is going to be a lot more intensive, and that needs to be very, very regulated. And that is going to be, we're pretty flexible with our approach, and we promote flexibility, but obviously to a point. So first, let's go over kind of some of the lifestyle stuff. Two really easy things to do to just kind of stay on track and stay in that consistent routine is bringing your supplements, particularly bringing protein powder.
Easy.
It's the easiest thing to do.
Protein, there's easy, on-the-go options for protein too. Bars, protein powder. You can get jerky at the airport, yogurt.
Maybe you should buy it for it. It's like $8, but I just did that last time. I literally did that last time I was flying. I like forgot to get some.
Yeah.
And, I'm to the point where if I have a bar and a bag of jerky, like I'm good, and then I can just wait and have a meal. Like if I was dieting, like no, I need a real meal. But like right now, like it doesn't really matter.
No, yeah, I'm the same way. Like I'll take a bar with me, or when I get to the airport, I'll be like, oh, this is fine. That's all I need.
I got a yogurt and this like it's fine. But definitely buy it before, because the bag of jerky that I got, which is normally not cheap, but it was like $8, and I was like, okay. But I was in a rush, and I was like, this is the price I pay for being lazy and forgetting. But it is cool to be at a point where like we can do that. For like different reasons. But so definitely bring protein powder. You can always get either a bottle of water or like a cup of water and have protein shake. And not just
bring like a shaker cup with you.
And not just for the actual day of traveling, for like when you're away. So what I try to tell most people is that, hey, like when you're traveling and say you're with your friends, you're with your family, most of the time these people are going to have 2, maybe 3 meals a day, right? Like most people aren't eating 6 meals a day unless they do what you do, right? And I mean, I don't even eat 6 meals a day, but I'm just saying, like in general, most people are eating way less frequently. So typically I'm somebody who does 4 meals, or 4 protein meals at least. So it's really easy to, breakfast, lunch, dinner, cool. I'll at least bring protein powder for like that 4th meal or a bar or whatever it might be. That way I at least know that I have this covered, and I'm going to be able to get this in no matter if everybody wants to eat somewhere that I don't want to eat, or they're not eating at all. Like you got that covered, and you have your regular supplements. One thing that, especially if you are traveling a lot, like you need to be consistent with certain things, and like don't just take them like 3 days a week. Like just bring them with you. It's really not that hard to like put them in a little pill divider, keep moving. Okay.
Keep it pushing.
So easy. Now, if you are, you can bring some food with you, right? Like that's we're not like against that. And sometimes,
if you have the option, or if you're used to, making meals ahead of time, like you could bring a few meals for the travel day, make it easy on yourself, so you don't have to spend money at the airport, or if you would rather have like a whole food meal at the airport or on the plane, go for it.
Yeah. I do that a lot, just because, again, a price thing, a convenience thing. Like at the airport, at Tampa's airport, like there's a lot of options, but not every airport. I've been to a lot of airports with really shitty options. And
I literally spent, I think it was like 9 or 10 hours in Charleston Airport, their airport, because, United always gets I spent the day in the airport once, and I basically had to have like my full day of meals like in the airport, because by the time we landed there, I hadn't eaten breakfast at that point, or maybe like I had a protein bar on the flight. I can't really remember.
No idea.
Yeah. Protein bar diet by me.
That's literally Jill's diet. We do like a horrifying, like another like one of those diet videos.
Yeah.
And I like sneak that in there, because literally this chick used to eat so many protein bars.
I still have them.
I know.
To help you catch up sometimes, but it's so bad. I remember we were doing like a low carb thing.
And you're like, is this an intervention?
Thanks, Lauren. Anyway, what was I saying? Oh, I was in the Charleston airport for like 9 or 10 hours. Had like a protein bar on the flight there, and then we got stopped in Charleston because they said something was wrong with like the plane, or they had a missing part or something like that.
Don't you love that when you're flying? They're like, oh, there's something in the back wing. It might be on fire. We're gonna land. You're like,
something's smoking. Let's just land in Charleston.
The part is in California. It's not going to get here for 3 days. You're like, what? Hey, what the fuck are you talking about?
It was only supposed to be like a 3 or 4 hour, stop, which turned into the plane actually coming in with the part at 1 in the morning, me getting on the plane, actually getting home by 3 or 3:30 in the morning. They had free snacks while I was waiting, and I'm like, this is not going to do it. So I had to eat in the airport for the day. But, thankfully they have, decent options. I got like, some salad or whatever, some vegetables, and then I just filled in the rest as I needed.
Most of the time, again, you can make it work, but you can also be a real dirtbag with your choices. So it really just depends.
A Rice Krispie treat at 1 in the morning.
Yeah, like it could literally be like, I don't want to, I don't want to make a good choice. I'm going to go with the worst option. It's okay. Yeah. Maybe there's not really good options there, but you can make the best of a not great option.
Yeah.
and then move forward, so it's just one of those things that does get better again with practice. The same thing that we talked about, like with eating out, all of this gets much better with practice, but you do have to put yourself in the situation. So what we're saying basically is, if you're used to prepping food, you feel comfortable with it, it's not hard to travel with food, especially like we carry bags, we carry like the 6-pack bags, and it's like a purse, and then it has like a food area in it, so it's really easy to just bring food. Now, 2 things through TSA: you cannot bring any liquids, so you have to have solid food. Yogurt is technically a liquid, yes.
You need to make sure your ice packs are completely frozen.
Ice packs are 100% frozen, because they detect that as liquid as well. Worst case scenario, what I always do too is I keep some baggies in my bag, because if they do, for whatever reason, take your ice packs, you can always at least go and get ice from a restaurant, fill that up, and keep your food cold. So if that sounds really extreme to you, you don't have to do it, but it really is so simple to like me and you. That is like really not even an issue. And then that way, again, if you get to the airport and you're delayed, or you have a bad, there's just shitty options there, or you just don't want to stop and have food, or when you get to your destination, like a lot of times I know, like, okay, when I go somewhere, I'm going to be eating lunch and dinner out, maybe I'll have a bar or a shake, whatever, but for breakfast I'll just bring this meal with me, and then that way I know what I'm going to have.
It takes the guesswork out of the first half of the day at least.
Exactly. I don't have to wake up now earlier to go get food. I don't have to pay for room service, like whatever it might be.
Fun fact, actually, in 2018 when I was, I think I was flying to Chicago. Okay. I had my meals prepped and everything.
Oh yeah, and got really jacked up.
Oh yeah, my Icon meals, like they were holding them in like the package area, and my mom was like taking on all the stress for me, so I didn't get stressed out. I felt so bad. But they had my Icon meals, and they like were giving us issues with like actually getting the package, and we were really concerned that like they were just gonna sit there overnight, like not refrigerated. But we eventually got them. But that wasn't what I was gonna talk about though, because I had my full day of meals with me, like to go through the TSA and stuff. My oatmeal, I made it before I went through security, which you're not supposed to do because it's considered a liquid. But it was so thick that it got through security.
Had 3 C's.
3 C's.
It wasn't a gelatinous?
I was literally going through security with like my fingers crossed, because I was like, they're probably going to take it from me, so I have a backup just in case. But they didn't, and I got through and I had my breakfast like normal. So it was really nice.
We just went to... Everything was happening with Chicago. Like, what is it with Chicago? So 2 stories about that. So one, I just had a powerlifting meet, so we had to bring like a bunch of weird stuff, because he was he was cutting a bunch of weight, and then he was refeeding, and he wanted to have certain things with him. So he also had to bring his own chalk to the meet, long story. But so he has like this block of chalk, and he writes like chalk on it. And then he had like a salt shaker like this big, like you can't see my hands, but it's probably like 6 inches. And then we had like a whole bunch of other weird, like we had a whole suitcase of like fucking ramen and like Gatorade powder. Like, it was very weird, right? And I was like, hey, because I have TSA pre, and like I travel so much that like I know what to take out and I know what to do. I was like, hey, this is chalk. Hey, here's these things. Hey, like I had all this stuff out, right? So I'm going through, and then they still flag it, and I'm like, what are you guys flagging? You know what I mean? And they were like, oh, the salt, like it's too much. And I'm like, what? But they were like, the lady's like, chalk? I was like, yeah, it's, you gotta put it on their backs. And then she's like, okay. Like, they're just like, ramen. Like, it was like this whole thing. Another time, so what ended up happening sometimes with, this only happens at fancy hotels. It's never like, the Holiday Inn or like some little motel. Like, they're always super nice. Like, they got your food, they don't care. With Icon, they get it, obviously it comes from whatever carrier, and then they deliver it. It's not like it's off of their hands now, right? It's like in the delivery center. And some places don't keep it like behind the desk. They have their own little like delivery center, right? So I was in Chicago 2 years ago, and I had ordered food, and they were basically, it was saying it was delivered, but then they like couldn't find it, right? Like one of those things, right? I was like, okay. So they were going back and forth telling me like, oh, I don't know, they must have said that it was delivered, but it really wasn't here. And I'm like, why would they, why would they do that, right? So it's this whole clusterfuck. Finally, they conveniently found it, but then it was at this other area, and I had to pay for it. And I was like, what? And now, obviously, I understand it's not like, it's just a policy. It's not like the person working at the desk was their choice to charge me. But I was like, you realize that I've already paid for shipping, right? and now I'm paying to also pick this up because it weighs. I was like, I'll go pick it up if you want me to. If the heaviness is the issue, that you're somehow laboring, and I gotta pick it up. Like, it was this whole thing, and I was just like, all right. Or like when we were in for your show.
Yeah.
Universe. So.
Oh yeah.
Oh my god. So I was prepping at this point, and I was very depleted. And it was one of those things that, which we're going to get to next once I get off of this rant about prepping. You do need to make sure that you're really on top of your food. You either need to go grocery shopping or you need to have food delivered or both. I had done all those things, right? I was very well prepared. And so we were staying at an Airbnb, and it was kind of one of those, I can't remember the name, like what this is called, but basically it's like a house. It's like kind of like split, so there's like two.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about?
Oh yeah, that's
it's
kind of like my house. And
it's like a northern thing. We don't really have those here, I don't feel like.
No, yeah, that's basically what I grew up in. So it's basically like two houses like right next to each other.
Yeah, but it's not a townhouse, because I live in a townhouse, so I know what that is. It's not that, like, basically like the address would be the same, but it'd be like A or B or fucking whatever. Okay, it's like one of those things. Anyways, so they knock on the door. And they were like, hey, here's a delivery for this person. And they're like, oh, that person doesn't live here, because obviously I don't live there.
Oh, right, yeah. I remember this.
And, like, they're not supposed to do that. They're supposed to just leave it, like, it says it on there, like, leave this at whatever location. So I'm now like, where is my food? Like, I need my food. Obviously, I had been prepared for that day, but I was going to need more. And I was, like, on the phone with customer service. I'm doing all this. The lady was like, literally, the customer service lady started, the most New Jersey thing I've ever dealt with, started like yelling at me. And I was like, I don't know if like you're aware of how this is working, but you're supposed to be helping me find a solution, not getting upset. I was like, it literally says on the box to leave at this. She's like, well, we don't do that around here. What? Anyway.
This is how Jersey works.
Whole disaster.
Welcome to the Northeast.
Yeah, like, literally. I was so heated. Anyways, so transitioning to the prep conversation. If you are on prep, this is going to be very important for you to make sure that you're on top of your food. Most of the time, deliveries are all good. There is the occasional, mess up, and I get it. That's just life.
Worst case scenario, grocery store.
Yeah, you should probably go to the grocery store anyway, just to get some
essential
stuff. Water is really important. When people travel, they forget to drink water, and it's just
super easy to forget water.
Yeah, and
we were on a road trip last week. Oh my god, 10 to 12 hours in the car. It was really a 10-hour drive, but 12 hours with the stops and everything. And the first day, like literally, I probably had like a single bottle of water and like coffee.
I'm not surprised. I had 13 coffees.
And I was paying for it the next 2 days, which is fun.
Honestly, if you're used to drinking water and then you don't, you will feel awful, especially if you're prepping. I mean,
I remember that with prep too, because I remember, show day would be fine. We have like water set, but it's definitely, the day after where I'm a little bit off, untracked meals, my structure a little bit off since, things are a little bit more free. So that's kind of where my water would drop drastically. And then I'd be like, why do I have such a terrible migraine? It's because I'm super dehydrated.
Dude, I get really bad dehydrated headaches. Like it's instant, literally, for me. If I'm dehydrated, like almost always the next day, I'm like not feeling good. But like after the team meetup, and I probably had like 10 drinks in the span of 2 hours. No water. Nice. Anybody listening can relate. It was so fun and totally worth it, so I don't care. But yeah, so if you are traveling, making sure your food gets delivered, bringing food with you, like we talked about, our whole like airport escapades, like you need to make sure that, if you are prepping for anything, but particularly for a physique competition and you have way less wiggle room, you're going to need to bring all your food for that day with you. Because
and I always like to say bring a little bit extra, or at least like some easy options that are like non-perishable, like tuna packets, rice cakes, things that you can easily put in your suitcase or your bag, just in case like you need an emergency meal or anything like that. It's always better to have a little bit more than you think you need.
And sure, you might be able to find it at the airport, but in the admin that you're not, and you're not thinking clearly, and you're super depleted, and you're already tired, like just don't even worry about it. Like just do a little bit of prep work, put it in your carry-on bag, it'll be fine. And then definitely go to the grocery store when you get there. It just makes a lot of sense, especially for things like water, especially for just any kind of essential things that you might need. pretty much it's not that hard to go to a grocery store when you travel. These are the things that just come with a competition. You know, if you're going to be traveling while competing, you need to stay on top of your shit. And like I said, this is for any competition, because doesn't matter if you're doing a performance competition and you need to eat for your goals, but particularly when you have way less wiggle room as a physique competitor. You know, you have 75 carbs. Good luck making it work. Like, you can, but it's just so much harder. So like, just fucking go get your shredded lettuce and your normal shit that you eat, and
keep it simple.
So
try to replicate your normal days as much as you can.
Don't be like, oh, I'm traveling and now let me do a total 180.
You know, try eating out for the first time on prep ever or anything like that. You know.
If you're already doing that, like,
of course we can make that work, but it's not something where it's like, oh, you know, time to try this out for the first time. Like, have a lot of stuff prepped at least. And
when even if this is, even if you aren't a competition prep client, you are just a lifestyle client, and this is the first time that you're traveling, and you usually have travel anxiety, and you normally have these really bad patterns that you've developed around eating out and traveling. You're going to need to prep a little bit. Don't expect, like, hey, for the past 5 years I've been traveling and I've had really, really bad habits around this. Don't expect to then now not have those bad habits. Like, you need to do something. Put like a wedge in there. Okay, I know that I don't normally have any protein when I travel. Okay, easy. You bring protein powder and bar. Oh, I know they don't drink enough water. Make sure you bring a thermos or go get a gallon. Like, you need to make sure.
It's super easy for those old habits to, creep back in. And this isn't about eliminating them or getting rid of them entirely, because odds are they're always going to be some kind of issue. But it's about implementing ways that we can kind of combat those issues that you're having.
And make it easier.
Making new habits that make these things easier for you to manage.
And when people say, oh my God, how do you eat out so much when you're prepping, or how do you do this? Because I actively worked on doing this. It was not an accident.
It's not,
that I was able to do that.
It's not always going to be smooth when you start, but doing it over and over again, like exposure therapy, it's going to be, like second nature in no time.
And then another thing, I know we talked a lot about food, but we did want to touch on training. And again, this goes for anything that you're whether you're competing in a physique sport or just any kind of competitive event, or just, again, a lifestyle client. If you are gone for the weekend, just get it done before you leave. You know what I mean? Like, get your training done.
Just front load cardio.
Just make it work.
Have your meals prepped. 2 days is super easy to prep your meals for.
If you're gone for a week, a little different.
It's gonna be a little different. That's where, going to a grocery store, having a meal prep company shipped over.
And planning, like, all right, where am I staying? What is the closest gym?
What can I do? What are my options? And going from there. But with prep, it's more of like that no options mentality. Like, we're gonna have to find a way to get that stuff done. But again, that's where planning is really important.
And like you said, it really is a no options thing, and it actually, it can make things a lot easier on people, because it actually is a lot easier to be like, well, I have these 5 things that I have to get done, and I'm going to figure out time to do them. So it does make people a lot more urgent, because you have to be. So, there's been many times where I've traveled prepping, and it's like, oh my God, how am I going to do all this? But you figure it out and you get it done. But you do have to make it work. Okay, I need to go at the gym at this time, because I need to be here for this long, and I need to make sure I get these meals in, and I need to make sure I go to the store at this time, and I need to do, like, whatever it is. I need to work from this hour to this hour, and you kind of just have to do it. But training is not something that should be completely thrown to the back burner when you do travel, especially if you travel a lot. If you travel only once in a while, it doesn't matter. If you're traveling multiple times a month, or even if you're just traveling once a month, that's still enough to, like, derail you. If you're going out of town twice a year, I don't really care. If you're going out of town multiple times a year, or even,
for work, or
more than once a month, you're going to need to figure out how to train on the road, what to do, what are some easy substitutions, what are some gyms you can go to in your area, how are you going to figure out the times, and all that. And, again, take advantage of being home, getting as much done as possible when you are in your normal environment. But don't think that, just because I'm traveling,
like,
again, you don't get that
stuff gets forgotten.
I'm going to eat awful, I'm going to start drinking at 10 a.m., I'm not going to go to the gym, no, you gotta do something. In worst case scenario, say you do all that. Say you totally fuck off on your trip. It's possible. You need to make sure that you don't let that go into the next week.
That's where a lot of people can, kind of fall into that trap. Oh, I fucked up. Might as well, do a last hurrah or something, or carry that out while I can.
Or I'll just do another week like this.
Yeah, and then it gets so easy to just fall into those habits, and then it's like, I don't want to say motivation-wise, but motivation-wise it is kind of harder in that sense, since you're, getting used to those old habits again, and they feel comfortable, and they're nice, and whatever, or in the moment at least, it's harder for you to actually pull yourself out of that the longer you stay in it. So, having that habit of getting back into things, even if in the next meal or in the next day, that's going to really benefit you in just getting right back into your normal routine.
For sure.
And it's not the end of the world. I always tell clients when eating out or traveling, like, it probably won't be 100% perfect. Especially with lifestyle clients, you have a lot of more variability, and you have a little bit more flexibility to play around with. So odds are we're not going to be perfect, but having some, habits in place and keeping those consistent while we're away are going to make a bigger difference than if we just drop everything altogether.
For sure. And then even if everything went wrong every which way for the past week, continuing that now for a second week is not going to help. It's going to make it that much worse. So you need to be open with your coach and say, hey, here's what happened. Here's where I faltered. Here's where I need to get better. And then it's the coach's job to be like, all right, here's the plan we need to do moving forward.
Yeah, and then just have a plan for the week to get back on the horse, basically. And lifestyle clients with training is also going to be different, just because you have that option of I'll go to the gym maybe a few days out of the week, or maybe if you're someone who goes on vacation and then you literally want to sit around and do nothing, you have that option. So you just kind of have to just pick and choose, or just look at the context and go about it that way. For example, if I'm going home for a weekend, I'm going to train. I'm probably going to train maybe before I fly out, or get all my stuff done before I leave. But if I'm going on vacation and we're going to be on the road for a long time, and then I'm away for a few days, it doesn't really matter to me if I train or not, just because I know we're going to be moving a lot and hiking and all that stuff. So, it's just context dependent when it comes to lifestyle clients and training. You just have to make that decision and own it.
Yeah, and then sometimes you travel and there's you're going to go somewhere where there's a really good gym, or you want to go train, right?
Yeah.
At least that's
I'm one of those people too.
Yeah, we're going to this place and there's this really awesome gym, or I want to go see somebody, or meet up with a client and go train, or do whatever. That's stuff that we do. But if it's not an option, it's not an option, and then you have to make it work afterwards. So hopefully this helped you guys, and like I said, we did reference that Eating Out podcast because I think that will go over a lot of especially the eating out and the estimating and all that. It is an important part of traveling, and it is something that I would definitely recommend practicing before you travel. Don't be I have travel anxiety and eating out anxiety, and then try and combine them. No, maybe try and work on one before the other, or you might have to do both, but don't expect it to be great. Expect there to be some issues. But it does get better. It does get easier with time. And if you are somebody who, especially this year, hasn't been traveling a lot and then gets thrown back into it. I know I wasn't traveling obviously nearly as much this year, and then I literally had 7 back-to-back trips, and some of them were driving trips, but it was still time away. It was still out of my norm. And I was oh, okay, I'm right back into all this. You know what I mean? Holy shit. But I just relied on all the old habits that I had built previously, and I'm clearly not, dieting for a show or anything, so it was much easier in that regard, but I still needed to rely on, solid habits and those kinds of things. So, as always, if you guys have any questions, you can let us know, but to check out any other podcasts or articles we've written, apply for coaching, send us an email, whatever you want to do, you can go to teamlocofit.com, and we'll catch you guys next time.
Hey.